Quelle heure? On a 12 minutes d'avance. C'est bon, je crois que ça va marcher. J'ai même pas su avec ça. On va voir ça. Tac. Ça a mis du temps là. Il y a encore le premier. Ouais. Ah ouais, toi, tu rigoles pas, toi. Julia, ah, t'en vouloir, Julia, là, par contre. T'es foutu. Tu reçois les notifs plus vite qu'elle ou quoi? Tu reçois les notifs plus vite que les autres. Bon, il est où le concert, mon frère? On va être en retard au concert, là, dépêchez-vous. Vite, vite, vite. Merde, c'est où déjà? Attends, là. Vite, on va être en retard au concert, frère. Ça, c'est où? Perdu sur Steam, là. Vite, on va être en retard. Je vois plus l'écran. Ah, d'accord, il est là-bas l'écran. On a un bon endroit pour se calmer. Ici on voit bien, il est pas trop mal, ils sont stabilisés de l'écran là. Ah, tu peux même pas danser et tout. Tu peux même pas danser. Ah, tu peux même pas danser. Eh, bro! T'entends le concert aussi, bro? Tu peux même pas danser dans ce mode-là? Que je vais là. Tu peux pas danser. Tu peux pas danser, frère. Ah oui, c'est carrément désactivé. Même les danses, ils ont désactivé, quoi. Sérieux. Ah, ils ont désactivé les danses et tout. On va pas se faire voler notre place. On est en première classe là, donc je peux pas voir bien ici. Oula, il y a du message là, en premier. Ouais. Non, j'actualise dans 10 minutes, scène principale. Oh non, je suis pas la première. Grand écran, je crois. Flèche du bas. Ouais, ça marche pas, gros. Flèche du bas, je sais plus ce que c'est. Tu te active ton parachute. Arrête de me ban. Tu veux voir ma... Oh là là là. C'est pas possible, ce mec-là. Il a vraiment rien à faire de sa vie. Allez, on l'envoie signal. C'est reparti pour le signaler. Supprimer ça. Ouais, il arrive même pas de supprimer ça. Je vais obligé de faire ça, plus ça en fait. Non, ça le supprime même pas quoi. T'as beau le bloquer dans tous les sens, c'est même pas la peine. Putain, aucune maturité ce mec. Ouais, grave. Merci Julia, j'avais pas vu du coup à me re-énerver. Pareil, allez, dans 10. On est avec un autre compte. Je suis sûr, putain, c'est un film de ouf. C'est cancérigène. Quand dans tes paramètres, ta touche emote. Ouais, je sais, mais regarde, là j'appuie sur la flèche du bas, tu vois. Là je suis en train d'appuyer sur la flèche du bas, tu vois. Parce que j'arrive pas à danser, quoi. Là j'appuie sur la flèche, je peux faire ça. La flèche, je peux mettre un point. Je peux faire ça. Et quand j'appuie sur le truc du bas, je peux pas faire ma danse, tu vois. Je peux pas faire le floss ou je peux pas faire des danses, tu vois. Je sais pas comment ça se fait que tu peux pas danser, quoi. Ouais, je sais pas, c'est chelou que tu puisses pas lancer dans ce mode quand même. Je vais pas me barrer trop loin, ça va bientôt commencer. Ah, ils sont tous calés là-bas. Oh, ça commence. Non. J'entends, il n'y a plus de musique d'un coup, là. Ah, oh, c'est quoi ça? Mettre un point sur la map. Faut aller à un autre endroit, non? Faut pas aller à un autre endroit. Non. Ils disent d'aller à gauche. Ouais, je reste pas, frère. Pas confiance. Ils disent de traverser le milieu pour aller à l'autre scène. Ouais, c'est quoi ce truc? Ouais, ils se barrent tous là-bas, regarde. Ouais, ils sont tous en train de se barrer là-bas, non? Ouais, ils se barrent tous, je crois. On les suit, ils sont en train de se barrer, je crois. Quand on voit sur le grand écran, ça dit traverser pour aller là-bas. Ouais, je sais pas, je vais là-bas, on verra bien. Oh là là. Dépêche-toi, on arrive en retard, hein, faites leur connerie. Ouais, je sais pas c'est quoi leur délire. Ouais, tout le monde va là-bas, c'est là-bas. Ouais, t'as rien pour te déplacer, quoi, c'est magnifique. Il est quelle heure? 56. Ouais, faut speeder. Ah ouais, il y a une scène ici, d'accord. Ça me valide un défi. Lol. Ah ouais, il y a une autre scène ici. J'avais pas vu. Ah, là on est yamb, là. Ouais, je reste. Ah, le frère. Il y a quoi derrière? On peut pas un peu. Wesh marshmallow, ma gueule. Viens quoi? Ok. Full teabag. Ah, c'est en espagnol. On est c'est franc, frère. C'est où la scène française, là? On est français, frère. Royale en mode spécial, tu peux lancer. Attends, j'en étais où? Allez, non. Regarde dans tes paramètres les touches emote. Fête royale. C'est un mode spécial où tu peux danser. Ouais, bah là, je sais pas, j'arrive pas. Plus que 6 minutes. Mon tel à 80% de batterie. Il charge. Je reviens dans 10 minutes, j'espère. Grand écran. Va au grand écran sur là-bas. Ouais, ouais, j'y suis du coup. 2 minutes, il reste. Ça, c'est, vas-y. Tout ça pour un revêtement. Je me co. J'ai 2 minutes pour me co. Ouais. Ils vont pas te laisser rentrer. Il y a plus de place, gros. Il y a plus de place, mon gros. T'es arrivé trop tard, t'as pas les places. Ah, j'ai dû payer plus cher pour rentrer, tu vois. Le billet m'a coûté plus cher que prévu, tu vois. Mais j'ai réussi à rentrer, quoi. C'est les tarifs quand tu rentres au dernier moment, tu vois. Les places au marché au noir, tu vois. Mais là, toi, t'es un peu en retard, je crois. Ils vont me dire, désolé, monsieur, le concert est déjà commencé. Vous pouvez pas rentrer. Faut que vous payiez un surplus de 100 € pour rentrer. Je suis au chargement. 1 minute 10. Voilà, non. Là, je crois que ça va pas être possible. Ils vont pas te laisser rentrer. Il y a trop de monde. C'est blindé. Je me dépêche d'aller pisser un coup, moi, du coup. Putain, l'écran est bleu, c'est quoi le délire? L'écran bleu. Ah, ça commence. Wow, les sous-titres ils sont pas en français là. Ils sont tous là-bas, on va avec eux. Tous en groupe.
Hey everybody, I'm
Et ils me
Carrie
laissent une petite
Champion.
place.
Welcome to We the People. So today we are having a very candid conversation with athletes and artists who want to make sure that you use your voice to vote. Voting is your voice. So we have so many
Regarde le
different
monde.
issues that have happened in this country. It's really
Oh, il
truly
y a
an
trop de monde.
unprecedented time. So I'm looking forward to these conversations. I
Chambre
think
des
you'll be
revoir.
educated
Je pense que
as
ce
well as
sera
entertained, but most importantly informed. We have morethanavote.org, whenweallvote.org, and fairfight.com. Those resources are imperative as we try to change
pour
our
changer le
future.
sentiment.
Yeah, there's no way that we can talk about hip hop or even the fact that we want to talk about activism, black voter suppression, without bringing in this guy straight from Port Arthur, Texas. We are talking about
Désolé, je suis en
He
train de
is
lire en même
an
temps que vous, c'est un peu
activist, a
compliqué.
scholar, and an all-around gentleman. Thank you
Grand
so much for
écran.
spending some time with us.
Ça,
Bun, I don't want to start
tout ça
heavy, but
pour
I guess I have to because that's where we are in the world
mon jeu
today. It's
bug, c'est
heavy as
super
hell.
ça.
And
Je
when you
lance le
think
mode là.
about what needs to happen in
T'es en
this
retard,
country
gros.
in terms of change, what's the first thing that you think
Désolé,
of?
je suis en train de lire en même temps.
Equality.
Machin, c'est un peu
That's pretty
compliqué.
much the first thing that comes to mind, right? Black people need to be seen as equals in this world. You know, we had to fight just to be recognized as a full citizen in this country and not 3/5.
The world is now seeing what we've known for so long in the culture and in the community. The one way that we can fight is obviously voting. Talk to me about what voting means to you.
I hear people all the time talking about one vote doesn't matter and that voting doesn't make a difference. If that's true, why do they work so hard to suppress the black vote? Because they understand the power of the vote. And so it's time that black people collectively
C'est bien,
also
c'est un
understand the
message sur le
power of their vote.
racisme.
And not just on a national level, because a lot of times we only have this conversation
C'est
every
bien,
4 years. People need to be very much involved in their local politics. They need to understand who their elected officials are, where they stand on issues that affect you. And you need to use your vote to either support the ones that care about you and your condition or to elect people who do. A newer initiative that we're dealing with is educating felons,
Il y a
right?
du
So in the
people
state of
quand même. Hein.
Texas, if
Regarde
you're
le
a
monde.
felon, right, if you've been to jail or to prison, and but you're no longer on probation or parole, you have the right to register to vote. Another thing that was just brought to my attention, there's an initiative called Orange, which is happening not just in Houston, but all over the country. If you're in jail currently during pretrial, but you have not been convicted, like you're still in jail waiting for your day in court, you are still eligible to vote.
And you said something so key. They work so hard to hope that we stay uninformed, but more importantly, to suppress the black vote. If you could do one thing with this message that we're trying to send today about how important voting is, what type of images would you like our people to understand and see when they go to these polls and vote or when they cast their ballots?
I think the images that we've all seen, you know what I'm saying, for decades in this country, if not centuries in this country, we've seen black people oppressed, we've seen black people attacked. So every time you look back and you see those old black and white images of people of color
C'est
being
grave
attacked by
abusé, ça.
dogs and people of color being sprayed with hoses, that's what they were fighting for. Back then, they were just fighting
Yeah.
for a chance to vote. People like Martin Luther King Jr., people like Malcolm X, these people died to help us um, be in a position to have the power that we have now, which is to be able to cast a vote and make a decision about the people that have controls over our lives. So, I mean, if you in your own community need a reason to vote, look at a person like George Floyd. If the people in your city are not open to police reform, are not open to having the conversation about defunding the police, are not open to issues concerning economic equality, judicial equality, and racial equality, right? If they're scared to say
C'est
Black
pas
Lives
grave,
Matter,
c'est bon, je
you have the
suis
power to put
dans
people
le
in those
mode, mais
positions who do believe that Black
pour
Lives Matter,
l'enlèvement
who
que je
do
fais, tout
believe in
ça.
racial equality,
Gars,
economic equality, judicial equality,
écoute ce
Right.
qu'ils
right?
disent, moi.
Who see us as
Ce
human
qu'ils disent,
beings.
c'est intéressant.
And if the people in your community don't feel that way, vote them out. It's that
Ils parlent du
simple. It's
racisme
just
et tout,
vote them
c'est
out. We
intéressant.
don't have enough time to sit around and hope that people change their minds.
Yeah, Bumpy, you point out something so important. We have the power, and that is in our vote, and that is with our voice, and that's how we use our voice. I think of where we are right now. People say this is a particular moment, but it is a
Qui passe un
movement,
message
not
comme
just a
ça sur
moment, it is a
Fortnite.
movement. Why, in your opinion, was
Ouais,
it
George Floyd,
George
voilà.
Floyd's
Ouais,
death?
George
Why
Floyd.
was that the chosen
Pourquoi cet exemple de violence?
brutality for people to say, oh my God, black people are still oppressed in this
Déjà George
country, and it
Floyd,
is
tu
not
m'étonnes.
fair?
I think it's twofold, Carrie, and so many different encounters with between people of color and the
Le
police.
faire
There simply
réagir.
is no proof of what happened in the interaction. And so what happens is in a court of law, it tends to lean towards the policeman's point of view, right? In this case, we saw very clearly what
Des
happened.
preuves très
I think the
claires.
other thing is due to the fact that everyone was at home, basically during this time period
Cause
in
du
relation to the
coronavirus.
coronavirus. You couldn't avoid it, right? It was on every
Bah, ça, tu
television
réponds.
station. It was on every social media platform. Everywhere you turn, you were constantly hit upside the head with this message. You see in the
Voilà.
interaction that this man did nothing to deserve
Non,
what
rien fait
happened.
pour
That's
mériter
right.
ça.
That,
C'est
that's
clair.
so well said, because if you think about it, in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't worth it, and he didn't have to lose his life. I think that you touched on something that a lot of people talk about, and that is now defunding the police. That has been such a huge conversation, but there's so many misconceptions around defunding and dismantling. If you will, educate the audience.
All right, so most people, when they hear the term defund the police, they tend to think of,
Je
oh,
pense
they're going to
qu'ils vont
take away our
supprimer les
police department.
commissariats.
Nothing could be further from the point. Defunding the police means that in certain communities, even Houston, take for example, we had over $1 billion allocated to our police force. Now, what is that money being used for? Some of that money tends to be allocated towards riot shields, right? Pepper spray, right? That kind of thing. That's only used against the people that fund this budget, right? So why would the people want to supply the police with the means to oppress them? If the police are concerned about the situations in certain communities with a higher crime rate, well,
Je
higher
viens
crime rates tend to happen in communities
dépenser
where
ses
there's
potes pour la danse
there's not
verbe.
employment
Ouais, je l'ai eu
opportunities,
la danse
right?
verbe
There's not a
gratuit.
lot of social services, and
Je l'ai eu
people are
aussi
going
la
to do
danse.
what they need to do
Je crois
to
qu'il
take care
faut
of themselves and their
jusqu'au
families. When the community has
2
more
heures, le
opportunities for
31.
employment,
Ouais, aussi
more
pour le
opportunities
revêtement.
for upward mobility,
Ne dis pas
then
que
they
les
tend
gens
to be a
signent le
less
jeu
of a
pour rien.
strain on the government. They tend
S'ils
to have a
regardent
lower
au
crime
salon,
rate,
je suis
and
dans le
because
mode.
of that, we'll have less need for the police in
Je
those
regarde
communities.
après.
You are passionate about so many different things in
Parler de
terms of
George
making
Floyd,
sure that we are holding our
le
leaders
mec que les
accountable. Talk to
policiers
me
ont
about some of
tué.
the other projects that you're working on.
Well, right now, obviously, being a part of More Than a Vote is essential. We're dealing
Fais
with
gaffe avec
primaries in
ça.
this country right now, and we just want to educate
Ça
people. We
craint.
want to inform people because people are tired, they're angry, they're concerned.
Putain,
So
ma
we want to
manette
make
qui
sure that
charge
we
pas.
give them the right information.
C'est bon.
People
Désolé,
that do not look like
ma
us who are
manette elle
standing with
chargeait
us right
pas.
now, because it's very important
Putain, on
that
n'en voit
people
plus rien
that
avec eux
people who
là.
aren't black
Putain.
be involved, because if black people could have gotten rid of racism, we would have done it hundreds of years ago. And so I'm trying to use my
Oh,
voice
les
and my
cancers,
platform
frère.
just to let people know that if they feel like I do, there's a number
Regarde-le,
of
il se met
places they
devant
can
moi.
go to enact change in their
Oh
community.
là
People
là
need to
là là.
know
C'est quoi
about how
ces
their city
cancéreux,
council
frère?
runs. They need to know that they have the
Ils me
ability to
foutent là, au moins
speak
je suis
when city
tranquille, je suis tout
council
seul. Je
meets,
dis, ouais,
to let them
hop.
know that that's not the way that they feel their city needs
Au
to
moins
be
on voit
run.
tout,
Those
on
are
voit
not the
mieux
places
ici,
that
tu
they feel
vois.
the
Je
money
connais
in their
rien.
Bun,
community needs to be
Hop,
allocated.
on voit pas
and
bien.
Bubby, even a step
Ouais,
further,
lui aussi,
they
c'était
can
bien.
run for office
Attends,
in their
attends,
local community. They can run for
il
positions.
se met
Like
là, on
people
voit
act
tout
like they
l'écran,
leave it up to
moi.
somebody else. If you're upset, it's not hard to get on the school board. It's not hard to be a part of the city council. It really isn't. And depending on how small your town is, you could be a mayor. It's the power is with the people, and we need to just know that that's happening.
Absolutely. And it's always been with the people. You know, if you look at Trayvon Martin's mother, Sabrina Fulton, right? She felt that there was a system of racism and a system of oppression that led to her son's death. And so what did she do? She ran for city council and she was elected city council. Our own former president, 44, Barack Obama,
Ok.
right? Started in the community as an activist, ran for an elected position, became senator, ran for another elected position, and became president of the United States. So don't think that you can't make a difference. You know what I'm saying? You don't need a lot of money. You don't need a lot of power. Your voice is enough to make a difference.
Amen. I feel like I need to go out and run for something. You gave me a rousing speech there, sir. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you this. When I talk to my brothers, I have to ask you, as a black man, how are you doing? Are you okay?
I'm good. I'm good. I have a very strong relationship with God, so prayer definitely works for me. I have children and grandchildren who are watching me, who are encouraged by what I do, and they're proud of me right now, you know, and that's really what matters, you know. The change starts at home, you know, so as long as you have a support system that believes in what you're doing and supports you in what you're doing, you have everything you need to go out there and fight the good fight. And for those that don't, there's a community of people here to help you. So you can go to places like morethanavote.org. There are many different places that will encourage you, inform you, and they will put you with groups of people that feel like you, that are ready to take action. So no one has to go about this alone if they want to do it.
Yeah, we're stronger together. People have been saying it, but that has much more meaning now that we are in our movement, not just this moment. Bumby, it has been an education,
Il
always a
arrive carré,
pleasure.
mais
Thank
c'est
you
pas
so
grave, c'est
much. I
cancer.
appreciate you. Keep fighting the good fight.
Keep up the good fight.
Yeah, la la.
So our next guest, I have to admit, I'm a fan, but there are so many different people that we could talk to, and I thought it was so imperative that we speak with her. You know her as Molly on the huge, successful show Insecure, HBO's Insecure. She also has a comedy special highlighting her Nigerian roots, and she's an amazing podcaster. Let's welcome in Yvonne Orji, everyone. You have such a beautiful way of making things funny, giving us our medicine with some candy, right? The humor and the healing. You bring all of that to your space. And right now, as you look across this country and how everyone is so broken and so upset, if it's not social injustice, it's the pandemic, it's depression, it's unemployment, the list goes on and on. How are you doing, quite frankly?
You know,
Oui, logique pour les
I'm
amis
rediscovering self
du
in a
corona
way
aussi.
that is hard
Avancer un peu.
but necessary, that will lead to ultimate joy. I know it sounds like a
Il y a
lot,
quoi? Il y a un
but
concert après, non?
no, I think
Il n'y a pas
I
un concert
personally
après, non?
think that God put all of us on a global timeout. Like we just, America hasn't done as good as other people when it comes to timeouts because everyone else is out playing at recess, and we're still in the principal's office hoping and wishing we can come out. But I think that if we settle into the timeout and really learn the lesson that we're supposed to learn from this season, I think we'll emerge better. We'll learn how to play well with others in more ways than one. And so personally for
Non,
me, I'm
c'est
taking
le
this time
31, on s'est trompé.
to learn me in a new way. I feel like I'm being ushered into a new season, and I'm getting still, because sometimes the busy confounds the work that we're supposed to actually be doing. We're busy doing other stuff, but we got work that we need to do on the inside. And I'm
Je crois
leaning
bien
into
qu'on
it.
s'est
I'm like,
trompé.
dang, I thought I was gonna be able to rest like everybody else. And God's like, nah, we got work to
J'ai eu
do.
une danse gratuite par contre.
You
Je sais
know
pas
what?
d'où elle
And I
sort la
think that's what
danse.
everybody is saying about 2020. It's
J'ai
demanding
eu une
that we
danse
be better.
gratos,
And
mais
you
je sais
said
pas
it's
d'où
a
elle sortait.
global timeout. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, it's like everyone sit down, be humble, to quote the great prophet Kendrick Lamar. But like, no, seriously, sit down and let's reevaluate some things. Let us unearth and shake up the things that we have been trying to
Regarde,
hide
l'autre
within
Julia
ourselves, within our nation.
dit
I think
comment
America
ça?
is going through an unraveling
Elle
right
est
now,
plus
a
là,
much
Julia, je
needed, a
crois.
much necessary one. And I
Elle a dû
think
aller se coucher.
all eyes on us, right? There is no, oh, I was on the subway for an hour, so I didn't miss that thing that happened. No, everybody was home. Everybody, was watching when George Floyd died, and everybody, no one could hide it. Everyone was watching when Amy Cooper called the cops. Like, this is a time where it's like, oh, we can't pretend it away. We can't excuse it away. No, 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 no. It's a global timeout. Sit down, watch, and let's learn.
Elle doit déjà
And
être en train
globally,
de
it's like,
ronfler.
hey, we
Regarde.
were going business as usual, but it ain't usual no more. Like that's old. Anytime change occurs, it's very uncomfortable. And so right now we're sitting with we're getting we're getting comfortable with the uncomfortable.
The minorities, we've been comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that to me explains just the existence for whatever we want to do, how we break into our careers, how we live our lives, how we find ourselves one of the few or one of the first. And that's a lonely road. When you look at, and when you talk about this global timeout, everybody had to pay attention to Amy Cooper, everyone had to pay attention to George Floyd. How is that helping us as a people, as a country, during our global timeout?
I think, well, one, we're not minorities, Carrie. You already know it. It's like these labels that they put on us. It's like the same way of saying like black on black violence. Also, there's no white on white violence. It's branding.
Yeah,
right. It's all branding.
Yeah, you're right.
It's like white people kill white people every single day. So no, there is no black on black violence. And if you say black on black violence, well then let's brand white on white violence. Like, I watch Investigation Discovery. Ain't too many of us been featured. So, I just even like, but to answer your question, what does that do? I think what everyone expected is what has happened in the past when the world was still open, right? In that, okay, you had everyone from Trayvon Martin to Castillo to Sandra Bland. You had all of these lives lost, and Black people made some noise. We rioted. We got
Ça me
out in
rend
the
triste
street. We
pour
started the
George
Black Lives
Floyd.
Matter
Ouais,
movement, all
grave.
of those things.
Ouais, c'est
And then
abusé comment ils l'ont
and
tué,
then
quoi.
white people kind of just like, oh, let's give him something.
La pire mort au monde,
And
quoi.
then it's just like, is it
Et pour
over?
sa famille, son frère a
Oscar
dit
is so Black. Okay, good. We
manifestation
gave
ne
some
sert à
Oscars. Are we
rien.
good now? Like,
Que...
are we even? And it's
Ouais, bon,
now it's
son
just like,
frère.
oh
Ouais,
no,
c'est
no,
sûr
no,
que ça
no,
part,
no.
mais
This
son
is not
frère.
about like
Fred
a
Dino,
band-aid.
tranquille quoi.
It's like, yo, we might have to amputate the leg a little bit, but
Ah,
it's all
lui.
right because by amputating the leg, we're gonna save the body. And so I think that's what's happening now. Like, America is realizing, like, oh, Black people aren't just making a little bit of noise. Like, the protests are still out. The conversations are still being had. The change is still being demanded. And I think they're seeing, oh, this is not going away. And no, it's not, because we need systematic change.
What a beautiful way to explore what is happening and describe our country. We might have to amputate the leg, but that's to save the body. That's what's happening right now. That's beautiful, Yvonne. And to that end, I have to ask you this, because the way that we do that, we use our voice. And our voice right now in this world, in this country, is our vote. And everyone talks about voting and how important it is, but I feel like more than ever we understand that it's not just about voting every 4 years for the man in office. It's about your local elections. It's about the mayor. It is about the district attorney, the people who have the power to bring charges against police if police brutality is an issue in your community. If you care about your school district, you can run for the school board. I ask this of you, right? Your parents are from Nigeria. You are Nigerian. You talk about that very lovingly. What does voting mean for you?
Aujourd'hui,
I think voting is power. I remember, I became a naturalized citizen back in the 90s when, because I was still a minor, my mom naturalized, and so we were able to do it under her. And just even that power of like, we're American citizens and all the access that we have by being citizens, one of those accesses and those access to power being voting. It's a big deal. It's a big deal because not only do we have the opportunity to be in the country, but now we can be of the country. We can be of the systems. We can be of the rules. We can be of what it actually affords. But I think going back to your earlier comment about just the setup of systems, I think we are done a disservice, either it's schools or whatever it is, and I'm not putting teachers on blast. I think teachers do a phenomenal job, but for some reason, we do not, and give them all the raises. I know too many parents who are like, this child of mine, I do love them, but hey, where can I drop them off? And I do think that there's a disservice done because, again, when we talk about them, to your point, we talk about every 4 years. It's important to vote for the presidency. We don't realize, like, oh, snap, we actually can vote about, like, how much our libraries get. It's like small things like that, but they make a big difference.
When you think of voter suppression in this country, what does it look like for you?
It's the systems. When we talk about voter suppression, we also talk about systematic racism, right? It's all the systems that set up. And we've normalized, okay, maybe your job will give you a half day, or maybe, you'll be able to get this luxury. It shouldn't be a luxury. It should be built into the system. It should be built into the fabric of how we vote. But maybe you'll be able to get this luxury in order to enable you to go vote. Think about everything disenfranchised, marginalized Black person has to endure in a day. So in a day, you need to get to work. If something
J'ai
happens to your
15%.
car, if something happens to your child care, if something happens to,
Je
there's
charge en
so
même temps.
many factors
Ouais,
along the way that
ça
can
bug.
send you into a tailspin as an American. And then you add on as a person of
Du
color.
coup, il n'y a plus personne, je crois.
If you're just trying to get to vote,
Ils ont
and
tous
you
cru que
already
c'était
have
pour le
to go through
revêtement, je
all of
crois.
these hurdles
Ils
and
ont vu que
hoops
c'était pas, il
in
n'y
your
avait pas le
everyday
revêtement, ils
life,
sont tous barrés. C'était leur,
imagine
c'était
the
leur
one
deuxième.
day when your voice really is supposed to matter the
Il n'y a
most
plus
in this
personne.
country. But then you also
Ils sont
see
tous barrés.
all the times that you tried to have your voice matter, and then it's been
Ils voulaient
shut
tous
down,
le
repressed,
revêtement, ils ont
told
dit
it
c'est bon,
doesn't
on y
matter.
va. C'était pas
And
le
then
truc
you're
du
kind of
revêtement.
like,
Du coup, ils
what's
sont
the
tous
point?
barrés.
How do we keep hope though? If I'm watching this right now,
Ils ont dit il n'y a pas le revêtement, et
how do
c'est
we as a
pareil.
people stay hopeful? How do we believe in the promise that these quote unquote forefathers have given us?
Because have you met Black people? By default, like hope is infused in our DNA. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, by like if we haven't been broken
Ça
down
commence
through,
quand le
be
film
it through
qui est dans la...
slavery, through
Give it
capitalism,
to me.
through
Give it
Je
to me.
brûle tellement
colonization,
cette
through
cave.
segregation, through, I mean, look, the history of Black people in
Évidemment,
this
les gens
country
s'en
is, at
doutent
one
du
point, we were
racisme.
3/5 people.
Ils ont
That was a written law.
Ah, voilà.
And look at us now. We are whole. We are Black girl magic. We are Black boy joy. We are, you know what I'm saying? What I think about in terms of giving us hope, right? We're making a lot of people nervous right now, Carrie. We're making a lot of people nervous right now because they're like, dang, we put all these obstacles in their way, and these jokers are resilient. But that should give us hope. That should give us hope that, like, we can't stop, won't stop. I mean, I went to the school of Diddy. You know what I'm saying? Hashtag, Harlem shaking it right now. Can't stop, won't stop. And I think that's our motto. We can't stop voting and we won't stop voting. We can't stop marching and we won't stop marching. We can't stop thriving and we won't stop thriving.
To that end, because you led me directly there, I've been asking everyone who has appeared on this platform, what does activism look like? And I feel like back in the day, we had an idea. Yes, it is marching. Yes, it is protesting. Yes, it is speaking out against things that we feel are not right or unjust. But talk to me about what activism looks like for Yvonne Orji.
Listen, activism, I think the beauty of activism is that it has many faces, right? You're going to have the people on the front lines. Like,
C'est
you know
moi où
what?
tu manges des chips.
Martin Luther King marched,
Nature
and there
ou
were a lot of
barbecue.
women who were in the
Nature.
homes like, hey, BT Dubs, when they come back, this is how we support all the people who are marching on the front lines. And we're going to be here doing what we know to do best here. And you know what? Somebody needs to bail them out of jail so now we need to be in the community, getting money or whatever it is. So it's like everybody has a position to play. And so play your position like a shortstop, bruh. So whoever you are and whatever you do, play your position. So activism could look like, you know what? I'm not the one that's built to be on the front line, but you know what? My pockets go deep, so I'm gonna support the people on the front line. I'm a comedian. Black joy is a form of activism.
There's always a call for entertainers or celebrities that have the platform to do something. Why aren't you speaking out? I'm not a believer in thinking that it's mandatory. Like you said, everyone can be an activist and be activated in different ways. But talk to me about the connection. Talk to me about the marginalization in your world and how you feel like
Elles sont bonnes, les
it even
natures.
inspires you to say
Beaucoup, moi.
more and use your platform to
Mais les
do more.
meilleurs.
Beneath the surface of
Crème
what we
d'oignon.
do,
Non, je
Nat
déteste.
says it's
Les trucs à l'oignon, je
the
déteste.
who, right? The who is the person who's going to be like, hey, let me call this out. Either blind racism in terms overt racism, in terms of ways that we can be better, in terms of
J'aime pas
ways that
les
we can
oignons tout
actually be
court.
more uplifting to the community that you may not even realize that you're serving.
Before I let you go, talk to me about the urgency, in your opinion, for people to vote, our people to get out and vote this coming election.
Yeah, I mean, guys, Ryan, if you think you're tired now, I'm telling you right now, we cannot take this sitting down. We can't take this jokingly. I understand that it may be hard to figure out who to vote for, but at the end of the day, we got to vote for our families. We got to vote for our legacies. We got to vote for continued progress. We have to vote
Crème
for
d'oignon. C'est des
upward
pires.
mobility. We have to vote for equality in a way that is long lasting. And if we succeeded before, we can do it again. You talk about the whole this is the time. This is not the time to give up. This is not the time to pretend a way that we haven't made progress. We have. There's still much more to be done. And you know what? We might have to get to a point where we pass the baton to our
Comme
children and our children's
il y a
children,
loin
but we still
le
have work
monde,
to do
tu
now for
peux
that generation.
avancer, qu'on
Orgy,
voit mieux, s'il te
you are
plaît.
everything. You are Molly, but you are not
Ah,
Molly.
ok.
But I love you so much as Molly on HBO's Insecure. You are an amazing podcaster, Jesus and Jola. Shout out to Lovey. And then we also have movies. Like you, the world. You're a model, a cover
On voit
model.
ma
Oh,
tête.
so wait, don't let me forget your
On voit
hugely
ma grosse
successful
tête.
stand-up comedy special on HBO.
Bah, tu vois bien là.
You're doing it all, and I am so grateful. You're truly the dream, not just the American dream. You're the black girl, brown girl, do it all dream, the immigrant dream, everything. You're a beautiful, beautiful soul. I really, really mean that from the bottom of my heart. Yvonne Orgy, ladies and gentlemen, nothing but the best
Merci.
and excellence personified. Thank you so much for being here.
I love you so much, Mama. Mwah.
Je vous embrasse. Mouah, mouah. Nous aussi on t'embrasse. Mouah, mouah, mouah.
Yeah, la la.
So Atlanta has been one of the hotbeds in terms of political unrest and social injustice. We've seen so much happen in that city, and we've also seen so much come from that city, including one of our very own founding
Ils vont
fathers
encore
of the
parler
civil
là.
rights movement, and that's Martin Luther King Jr. But right now, we want to welcome in someone who has used his platform to talk about voting, to talk about racial injustice, and how he's trying to help. Atlanta's very own Russ joins us now on Read the
Ils
People.
vont encore parler.
Russ, I'm not going to fan out and tell you what some of my favorite songs were that I listened to repeat on yours. We're going to get to the topic at hand. So we got to talk about, recently you did an interview where you shared your outlook on culture and music.
J'aime
You
me
also
faire
were
chier,
very candid
MDR.
about the fact that
Oui, moi
you have
aussi.
a privilege and that
Et
it's
on
necessary for
discute.
you to give
Là,
back. Tell
ça
everybody
fait
about what
30
that
minutes.
means.
Guys,
Grave.
like it's very obvious I'm white and I'm in
Vous
black
êtes sûr qu'il y a
culture
un
and I'm
film, non?
benefiting financially off of it. So I feel like if you're a
Vous êtes
white
sûr qu'il y a un
person
film où...
financially benefiting off of black culture, you have to put finances back into black culture. It's just that simple. The screenshots with your feelings, it just comes off like fake empathy because it comes off very
Je suis
dismissive
pas
and
sûr qu'il y ait
very
un film.
oh, that sucks for y'all. But anyway, back to what I was doing.
Have you felt that way always, or is it now because of the time of where we are in this country?
I've always had the feeling. I think now it's just obviously elevated. It's a new level, and there's new, it's to the point now where you can't. First of all, you can't not say anything. Second of all, though, I just think saying something isn't enough anymore. I think, if you have the ability to put money back into a culture that you're financially benefiting from, have the ability
S'il n'y
to,
a
you
pas le
should.
revêtement,
It's
je pète
interesting
un
that you
câble.
talk about it in that way because some people do believe that silence
Sinon,
is the
lance
best way
des
to
games,
go
c'est pas
because
grave.
it's hard to talk race,
Ouais,
especially
voilà.
if you're
Donc,
white and
je
you
sais
live
même pas
in
s'il y a un
black
film, en
culture.
fait.
People just feel as if they can't talk about it. They feel awkward. They feel as if they don't have the privilege or the voice or the words. How do you find yourself right now in terms of interacting with people when they want to talk to you about social injustice,
Oh
police
mon
brutality, what's
Dieu.
going on in this country right now?
Well, first of all, picking and choosing whether you want to be silent or not about race, that's a privilege in and of itself. But no, I mean, you know, I try to just do my best to listen to the black people around me and the educated black people I have in my life. So I do my best to not act like I have all the answers for everything, especially in a culture that I'm not
31,
from.
je crois,
But you
en
know,
même
that's why
temps,
when
si
we
le
decided to
Galaxy
raise the
Femme
money
dans la boutique.
for Black Lives Matter organizations,
Désolé,
you know,
Axel,
when
pour
we
le
raised
spin. MDR.
500,000, we got on the phone with some of the
Ah,
women who
le bête.
started Black Lives
Me
Matter. I
tape
got
la
on the phone
gorge.
with Tamika Mallory. I was on the phone with Karen Civil and talking with my
Il n'a
friends to
pas
make
eu
sure the
l'événement.
money went to like the correct places, you know, and people who really need it. It's just about listening. That's all. It's about listening.
Let's talk about that for a moment because
Il
the
n'a pas le
way
niveau pour
I
avoir le
think of
skin.
activism, for me, it looks very different.
Il campe
It's
pas
not
assez bien.
necessarily just protesting on
Il
the front
n'arrive pas à
lines. I think
camper.
that's great. But what about being an activist in the
Dans
way
la
in which you
dernière
have
zone, quand il y a
decided to
50
be
personnes, il est en
involved? What
stress, tu vois.
inspired you? What did it look like? You said you raised money
Dernière
for
zone,
Black Lives
50
Matter.
personnes au
What
calme.
did you do? Walk us through everything that you did and how you find yourself in this moment right now.
So for me, you know, it was 3 years ago. I had like a string of festivals, and I decided that I was going to wear T-shirts with a message on them because I figured, what better, what better time to use a platform than in front of, you know, a bunch of people. So one of the T-shirts I wore was, "If you want to change the system, you know, speak up. White silence is pro-racism. The whole thing." And it didn't really it kind of got swept under the rug back then. But you know, when all this stuff started happening again, and it's
Je campe,
been
je meurs
happening
de
with
zone
police
pété
brutality
derrière.
against innocent black people, I was like, man, I'm not the biggest artist in the world, and I certainly don't have the most white
De
fans in the
zone en
world,
plus,
but
MDR.
I got a good amount of people that
Ah
I
bah,
can definitely
quand il reste
mobilize and
80
turn into
personnes dans la
something,
dernière
and I
zone,
know they're
tu
down
commences
for
à
the
avoir des
cause because
sueurs,
it's
tu
merch,
vois.
it's a good thing,
T'es en
and I've
sueur,
always been
frérot.
outspoken anyway, you know, and so how am I going to be in black culture and not be outspoken
Tellement tu
about
stresses.
racism?
And then
Faire
I got to ask you this
80
because you
personnes
grew up in
autour de
Atlanta,
lui,
so that gives you a heads up, depending for so
forcément.
many people, because you're in the crux of that beautiful black
Tu
city
tombes
where
sur des
there's so many
claviers
wonderful black
souris,
leaders,
tu te fais vite
home of
monter en
so
l'air.
much great music and things that speak to our culture right now. And we are
Tu
really,
tombes sur
really getting
Tixi et
our word
compagnie.
out, especially with this platform today, and saying that we
Le pauvre Axel,
must
il tombe sur Tixi, il
use
est
our
foutu, quoi.
voice to vote. Talk to me about what the importance of voting for you in this upcoming election.
Yeah, so you know, full transparency,
Oh,
I had
c'est
never
pas
voted
possible.
before, ever.
Ou Ninja, ouais,
And because, you know, I was one of those people who was like, my vote doesn't matter.
Pauvre
And,
Axel, il se fait
you
monter en
know,
l'air.
and I don't know, maybe it's because I was younger, maybe it's because I really thought that, or I don't know, but I just think that it's got to, you know, now this is a bit of a privilege to say it's got to a breaking point for me, because obviously it's been past the breaking point for black people, but
Ah bah
I
là,
think that
explique direct.
as a whole, you know, the young people need to get out and vote because we're the ones
Le
that
chouet,
never show up. You know what I mean? We
tombe sur
never
le
show
chouet
up to
en même
vote,
temps.
but you know, we're the future. So it's like, look, we got to go out there and vote, and then whatever happens, happens. But at least we did our part. You know, you got to do your part.
You're very candid in saying that you just decided to vote, and I think there's a
Et puis
beautiful
il peut
irony
toujours
in the
rêver
fact
pour avoir le
that you
skin.
have your fans saying, "Because of you, I'm voting,"
Right.
and there's something beautiful about that. But I want to know why now for you. Why in this moment is it important for you to vote, and what hit your spirit to say, "Yes, this is the time to do it"?
Honestly, because I think that George Floyd really woke up a lot of people who, including myself, who I was vocal and outspoken about racism. I put it in my lyrics. I put it on T-shirts. I would talk about it in interviews. Like, you know, I was vocal about it. But that video in that moment, I think me along with a lot of other people just kind of was like, all right, like words are simply not enough anymore. We gotta do something, whether it's raising money,
Non, il est
whether it's
dispo dans la
voting
boutique
or
le
all the
31
above.
pour
Like
200
we got to
V-Bucks.
do something, you know. And
Le revêtement 500, le planeur 1500.
I'm ashamed that
Le
it
sac
took
800.
that
Et t'es sûr qu'ils
for
vont la mettre dans la
me
boutique?
to be like, I need to raise money and I need to vote. You know,
Je suis
it's a
pas sûr qu'ils
shame.
la mettent dans la
And
boutique,
I don't know, it
honnêtement.
just, I guess it snapped a bunch of people out of it, you know. And even if you were vocal and whatnot, it's time to actually put your money where your mouth is. It's time to go vote. You know, it's time to just stop talking about it and be about it. You know, and it's been time for that, but like I said, you know, I'm ashamed that it took me this long to actually really be about it.
Ça a été dit par
But
Epic Games.
I'm here now.
Ah, ok.
So, Russ, we all know that this is going to be your first
Comme ça,
time
fais gaffe.
voting. Tell me what that
Yeah.
experience is going to be like for you in terms of what you're excited about.
I think you know what it's gonna do for me. It's gonna
C'est bizarre
let
qu'ils
me
lancent un
know
tournoi
that
pour gagner le
I'm
skin et après ils le mettent dans la boutique. C'est bizarre.
contributing to something bigger than myself, and I'm actually putting my money where my mouth is, and I'm being about it because, you know, for so long, and I know I'm not alone with this, but you know, standing on the outside and just screaming about this and that and this should change and it's like, all right, but did you vote? You know, and so you know, I know it's gonna feel good to know that I played a small role, you know, and that's the problem. I think the mentality of like my vote doesn't matter needs to be changed to
On a
my
fête dans
vote,
15 minutes.
albeit small, does matter. It's a role I'm playing, and if I play my part and you play your part and he and she plays their part, then we make a difference. But you know, it'll feel. I have a feeling it's gonna feel very, very bigger than me. And I think when you realize that giving actually feels better than receiving, that's when you start wanting to do your part and contribute. So, voting is an easy way to give. You know.
Yeah. To whom much is given, much is required, and you have been given a huge platform, and we are so grateful for you, Russ. Philanthropist, artist, community activist, first-time voter.
Vous pouvez pas faire le tournoi.
Okay?
Thank
Pour
you.
ceux qui ne pouvaient pas faire le tournoi. Ah d'accord, ok. Des comme toi qui ont un Wico, Albert. Qu'est-ce qu'il a contre mon Wico, lui? Albert. Il tape mon Wico à la gorge comme ça, quoi.
Police brutality and what we can do in this country. Again, we're continuing our conversation, letting you know that your voice is your vote and your vote is your voice. We can change where we are in this country. Currently, I'd like to welcome in Chicago Cubs right fielder Jason Hayward. I appreciate you. I brought in Atlanta and Chicago because I know you grew up in the metropolitan area of Atlanta, more specifically McDonough, let's be technical. And you have been very vocal throughout this entire time in terms of what our country's been experiencing. Let's look at the past month and a half, if you will. What has been the hardest thing for you to deal with?
The hardest thing for me to deal with, Kerry, this last month has just been going from the virus shutting everything down to us being called to action. We've had multiple police brutality situations, people protesting, wanting to get the message out. But I really realized that I need to be a part of the positive message and make sure that doesn't get lost in all the chaos going on for people to actually hear from a reasonable, respectable person who cares about everyone involved.
A reasonable, respectable person.
Il parle toute la nuit en fait là où
which leads us to more than a vote. It is a beautiful
toute la nuit il parle en fait, c'est ça?
Black athletes and artists. You are a part of that. Talk to me about why that's
Pendant
important
toute
for
la nuit ils
you
vont
right
parler.
now. You must be a part of that collective.
To me personally, it's important to be a part of that because I've somewhat used baseball and my craft as an excuse to not get more involved in voting. But I can't any longer use baseball and work as an excuse not to get educated and not also to show people like at any moment in time.
C'est Samsung Galaxy, je crois. Ouais, il me semble. Ouais.
So tell me in your words, what does activism look like for you?
In my words, it looks like LeBron James, the biggest athlete right now on the planet, speaking up and breaking the ice for everyone. But I think for the first time, people see and hear from us. So now we have white teammates, we have other people speaking up and realizing, okay, like this is how we go about doing this. And to me right now, social media, athletes speaking up, entertainers speaking up, like
Et
we're
ça
trying to do
parle
it more
toute
than
la
a vote.
You
night.
said something I thought was so key because covering sports for so long, I know that
Peut-être
it's
30
tough for
minutes, 1 heure.
black
Oh
players
my god.
specifically in Major League Baseball to talk about how they
On parlait
feel.
encore longtemps, je
Adam
crois.
Jones did
Peut-être
it in a very
30
eloquent
minutes, 1
way
heure.
early on, but there are
Oh,
very few that are
oh
vocal.
my
You
god.
said you all were afraid. Why use that word and why were you afraid?
You was afraid because in 2019 there were 68 of us total, and there are 38 teams. There's 25-man roster on each team. There's a 40-man roster, which is on each team as well. And there aren't many of us. So we're outnumbered in that sense, but not always in a negative way when it comes to our teammates and our clubhouses. But to get to this point, you have to move a certain way. You got to be careful what you say. You can't ruffle feathers. You can't come off in any way. Much like other black entertainers, much like yourself. Probably having to live through life every day, but to get to the highest level, you got to button up, you got to be seen and not heard. So baseball is, like I said, it was time for us to try and speak up and make a difference and show it's okay to do so because we can't be quiet any longer.
That is a button up, be quiet, be seen but not heard. That is an expression that a lot of black folks can relate to in whatever aspect of professionalism that they experience, especially if they don't work for themselves. They just feel that. That is also
j'ai
a
quitté, ça m'a
socialization
saoulé.
that we have as black folks, especially like you said, if you want to get to the higher level. And
Évènement,
for
c'est
so
31.
long, I felt it
Ouais, il y a
bubbling
des
right underneath the
chansons.
surface that so many of us
La
who were in
misère.
whatever positions we were, who had
Vous
platforms, who
m'avez fait
hired,
venir pour
attended,
rien,
working
bande
in corporate, and
d'enfoirés.
spending so much time making others comfortable while we were
Vous m'avez
uncomfortable.
dit, ah, va sur
Do you
Fortnite, va sur
feel
Fortnite,
that this
t'inquiète.
is the type of movement that is sustainable,
T'inquiète, bois.
or is it just
T'inquiète,
for a
boiseur.
time?
T'auras le revêtement.
It takes everyone joining in on the conversation, and right now I feel
Non,
like
je rigole.
more than ever there is little things as possible to distract from bigger issues. And we saw on draft day, we saw our president Theo Epstein holding up a
Ah
sign
là
saying
là, la
Black Lives Matter,
zéro,
Yeah,
plus
yeah.
personne, tout le monde
And now
s'est
we're having those
barré.
conversations as well. So I
Oh,
definitely
le
think
mec,
this
il
is
est pas là pour
sustainable.
faire chier le monde.
And it's not always just going to be the popular thing to
C'est
do.
pas le mec qui
This is
casse les
something
couilles
people
déjà.
want to get right because they know we
Ah,
can.
le fil
Jason, you said that it is
Gros
sustainable,
bâtard.
that what you're seeing,
Il aime
especially
pas
with your
faire chier le
colleagues in
monde.
baseball, that this can
Le gros
be
casse-couille
something
de
where
base, tu
you're
vois. Alors,
feeling more comfortable, feeling more safe to share how you feel about social injustice and police brutality. What are you doing right
le
now
gros
in this
casse-couille.
moment with your platform to help change how we look at voting and how to educate the culture and the community about
Le
voting?
casse-couille de base,
Well, first, what
bonjour.
I'm doing, Kerry, is joining up with More Than a Vote and joining up with other athletes and entertainers to get that message
Mec
out
qui a
and use
rien à
our
faire de sa
platform
vie,
in that
c'est...
sense as a group. And try to create a brand with this to make it something that's not just about the election coming, make sure that it's about people getting educated for years to come and figure out where to vote and how to vote.
Le casse-couille de
We've
base,
got people in
bonjour.
different areas that cover
Je suis un
different
enfant de
demographics
15 ans, je suis là
influence
pour faire
different
chier le monde.
areas of people. And as a baseball player, as a black baseball
Je
player,
crois que j'ai 12 ans.
I feel like now,
Je
like
dois
we
avoir
talked
12
about,
ans
is
bientôt.
finally the time to show
Je
people
fais
that you
chier
can
le
use
monde
your
dans les
voice
parties,
in this
oui.
profession. You don't have
J'aime
to be
bien
afraid.
embêter les gens dans les
And to me,
parties.
that can help someone,
Le
help
mec,
a kid
il a rien à faire de sa
growing
vie.
up. He can see me, he can see other guys that were in the video we posted saying, hey, this is what they're standing for. They're speaking up for these things, and it's okay to want to play baseball. It's not lame. It's not
Je vais me
something I
quitter
have
ce
to be
format, ça
as
m'a
afraid of
saoulé.
as I was before.
Je
So I
vais
feel like
bien,
that's my
merci.
role
Et
in
vous?
this.
Ah,
I have a younger brother,
dors pas,
he's
Julia.
24. He also plays baseball. So I've got to lead by
Je me
example. I
sens
can't
visé là.
just come up with a good answer that
Et
sounds
vous
good
allez
on
bien?
TV.
Tranquille,
When I get
tranquille.
asked a question on, what do we need to do to make changes?
T'as
I'm
dit
joining up
15 ans.
here to make
Ouais.
sure that I take action and get educated myself. For one,
Il n'y a
so
que
many
les enfants
people, I
pour
feel
faire
like
ça,
in
tu vois.
Atlanta, they're on the move.
Ah, les
You
mecs sont
want to try to make a
tranquilles.
vote,
Il n'y a qu'un
you want to try
enfant
to
pour
cast
passer
your
comme
vote,
ça
you have
devant
to
eux,
do
tu
it
vois,
by
pour les
mail.
faire chier.
You have to sign up for that
By the way,
absentee ballot.
look, this Travis
Then you
Scott
have
one's
to
void.
get
This
another
Travis
ballot
Scott
in
one's
return.
void.
They have to
Tu vois,
send it
lui, il
back to
gueule, il
you.
est pas corda,
But for
frérot.
me personally, they didn't
Please.
send that back until it was too
Please
late.
look, Travis Scott wants to
Right? We didn't
replay
get it in
me.
the mail to the address that's an Atlanta address at
You
my parents'
please.
house. We didn't get that in
Let's
the
just
mail
ruin the
until it
whole
was too
event,
late.
Bill.
Casse-couille de base, bonjour.
Yeah.
Other friends and
Et il est
It's
content,
proud you, but I'm not.
il vient faire chier le monde, tu vois, il est sur son temps, c'est un enfant, tu vois. Il vient faire chier le monde,
Make them
tu vois.
mad. Make
Et
them
regarde,
mad.
il est
Yeah, to make them
content,
mad.
il vient là, on les fait chier, il me dit, tu vois.
More
Et lui,
mad.
il est dégoûté, lui, regarde, il suit. Le gros bâtard, tu vois, il suit, il veut être tranquille, tu vois. Il veut être tranquille, on le laisse pas tranquille. Il y a un mec derrière, je suis bien, je vais pouvoir regarder
Hold
tranquille.
on, I'm gonna get back on the screen.
Le gros
I'm gonna get
bâtard,
back
il
on
le
the
suit,
screen.
tu vois. Il va se dire, il n'en peut plus, là, il va péter un câble, frérot. Il va péter un câble, le frérot, là.
I'm more mad.
Regarde, Disney là, il en peut plus là. Il est à bout de nerfs, il est à bout. Gros bâtard.
Well,
I
it's
fell
interesting that
off.
you even bring that up because there have been all these images specifically from Georgia because
I have
that's
to
such a
go
battle
Il se
again.
sent tous la même,
where
là.
you see people, especially when it came to the primaries, doing whatever it takes.
Gros
This is real
bâtard.
life voter suppression that we're talking about. It's been happening for decades. It's not fake. What you're saying, these examples of sending
Le
you
mec,
your
il a
ballot
rien à
later
faire.
after the fact or shutting down the polls at 6 o'clock while people still are in line, that's a real life issue. There needs to be some type of change. And I think that what we're doing right now is fair. But the idea of voter suppression, do you think that
Hello?
that is
Yo,
well
fais-moi
known,
une
especially
dédicace.
with folks, you know, within the generation,
I'm back
your
on.
generation?
Hello?
Moi j'ai 15 ans, je fais pas ça. T'es qui?
Do you think
Tu
Do you
viens
speak
d'arriver et
English?
tu me fais tout. Oui,
I don't know.
c'est
I
le
don't know if I
raciste.
can actually.
Je
I
suis
only
parti
speak
à une heure, ça fait 40 minutes.
English.
Did you hear him
and
speak
Regardez
English?
ça, il a le seum.
I don't
Tom, did
actually
you
know,
hear
you
him?
know.
Ouais, il s'est barré.
Jason, everybody
Il a
knows
Yeah,
rage
that it
he can
feels
hear
as
us.
if
Can hear us.
C'est
everybody
bon.
knows that
Il a
sometimes
rage
America's
quitte.
paying attention
Il a
to
rage
us.
quitte.
We have their eyes.
Ouais.
You
We have
speak
Hold on, go
English?
you
go
look toward the
Speak
future. What are
French.
you most excited about
French,
in terms of seeing the
okay.
change?
French, okay.
I'm excited about
Hello.
how fast the
French.
word is traveling.
Hello.
The word is being spread right now.
What do I say?
The
What do I
biggest
say?
athletes, the biggest icons, biggest entertainers are doing their part.
I forgot what to say.
Roll.
Wait. Doing their part.
Hello.
French, okay, okay. I know how to
Hola.
speak French.
Voilà, il devrait.
Bonjour.
Le gamin, le gamin, il est content. Il kiffe de se mettre devant eux, tu vois. Il rigole. Il est content. Le petit, il est content.
I feel like this is a new wave of getting things done the right way and just spreading the message.
Three
You're right about that.
Il est
And
content.
Comment
we
cover.
spread the word
Il est content.
unapologetically. We out here. We doubling down. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Right.
Hola.
Le casque.
I'm just gonna watch this.
Pas casque.
Hey everybody, I am so
I
excited.
swear to God, if I
friend,
see this
brother,
person once more.
Family member, if you will, former
I'm gonna
colleague,
break
Moi,
something.
c'est moi, on va pour la gueule.
Comment ça va?
analyst,
Tranquille, et toi?
He does it all.
Comment ça va?
His time
Tranquille,
Hola.
et toi?
to talk about something that is so important.
Hola,
That
¿qué
is
tal?
everybody,
Bien.
welcome, Jalen Rose.
Hello, how are you?
Talk to me about how important it is for
Salam
people who
alaikum,
know you,
salam.
love you, and look up to you. Why is this
Je leur fais dans toutes les
important?
langues.
Use your platform to talk about
Je
voting.
leur fais dans toutes les langues.
Initially, we have to get past the stigma
Ouais, on
of
arrête les conneries.
the mental systemic
Parlez-vous
racism that
anglais?
comes with the presidential race.
Hello,
Parlez-vous
how are
anglais?
you? Hello, how are you?
We've been conditioned to believe that our vote does not matter. So usually when we looked up at all of those
Tu es
races
moche.
and people that were running,
YouTube?
not only did they not look
YouTube?
we didn't believe they were there
Allez,
to
bim.
represent our best interests. So therefore, as a collective,
You love my
we didn't
skin, huh?
mobilize until
You
Barack
jealous?
Obama.
You is a
Je
jealous?
We
rigolais.
felt a sense of hope
Uh,
that finally
no,
Je
no,
rigolais.
no me too, no me too.
Can I just translate it?
No me too.
At the inauguration in 2008, I made sure I was there, and we voted in 2016.
Attends, je sais même plus, j'en étais
We
arrivé.
didn't vote, Kerry. We didn't vote.
C'est
And
rend le muet.
Êtes-vous un garçon ou une fille?
not political.
Êtes-vous un garçon ou une fille?
I'm the girl, I'm the girl,
Êtes-vous un garçon ou une
I'm
fille?
the girl, I'm the girl.
And then number two, the
Il y
reality
a un français
is
avec
that
toi,
the
le
person that
doute,
gets
ça
the
fait
most
2 minutes
votes
et je craque.
doesn't necessarily
Ouais,
win
je
the
quitte, c'est nul,
presidency.
Julia.
Hold on, I'm gonna go back to
That's
the
uncomfortable
I'm
right
just gonna go
there.
get my phone and try to
Because
get Google Translate, okay?
Lui, ça fait 45 minutes qu'il regarde ça,
The
que je regarde sans regarder.
electoral shows the
T'es moche,
president.
je respect.
If you put
J'habite à
Il lui a
Paris.
dit YouTube.
I'm pretty sure they look a lot
Il y a un...
more like each other.
J'habite à Paris.
Bien sûr que t'habites à Paris.
And then the third thing, especially in urban environments, oh man, they create barriers for
T'habites
us
dans la
here.
campagne.
It's like you got to jump over the fence, you got to run past
Bon, on
the
fait quoi, on
dog,
quitte?
you got to jump on the hood of the car. The
On
lines
retourne
is
sur
5
GTA
hours
ou je sais pas quoi,
long.
non?
You get up to the poll and they don't work. Elderly people working in the city.
Savez-vous où est l'Irlande?
Understand technology
In
work
your
in the
ass.
suburbs, like these are all systematic
No.
things to try to discourage us from voting.
No.
And finally,
Hello?
Ça buguait.
we don't have a day off to vote. We
Une
need to
fille,
work.
il habite à
So we
Paris.
don't
What
get
is
to
this
say, oh,
Aquaman
Gerbe,
doing?
it's gonna
Hello,
be
how
pas
are
a
you?
full
green.
day. Yeah, I gotta vote
J'ai
for
12
somebody
ans ans
else.
au
Le mec.
fait.
So you know what I'm gonna do?
Ah, ok.
I'm gonna mail in vote. And you know what
We
you want
speak a
people
different
to
language
realize
than
is
you,
that
so you
Je
can't
veux dire,
add
mon
me into
anglais,
Google
c'est le
so
Translate.
meilleur.
your vote will be
Compris.
counted if you're able to
Like
mail it in.
gimmicks.
So those are a few
Yeah,
things
because
that I
we
hope
don't
that we
speak a
can do
language,
and
so
mobilize and
we
shout to
speak
Ouais, on
Lamar
mute.
and
English,
his
so
Vous voulez
team,
qu'on mute, on
shout to
French,
you
mute.
and everybody involved. We
yeah.
will make a difference.
Well, let's talk about more than a vote. There is a black collective of athletes, of artists coming together
Bon, on
and
fait quoi en
saying voter
style?
suppression is a real deal, especially in the black community. When you just talked about, I got to work, so I
Ils vont
can't go
rester,
vote.
eux,
And
ils
then when
restent
we
là
do
toute
get
la
to
night,
vote,
tu vois.
just in case we don't have to work, do
Toute
we
la
know
nuit, ils
what
vont
we're
rester
voting
ici,
for?
je
Not
crois.
only do we have to vote, we got to be educated. And it's not always even about the man who's in
Toute
office
la
or the
night,
woman
ils vont
who's in
rester
office
là,
for
tu vois.
president. It's about your local elections. It's about the people who are your DAs, your state DAs, like the people who
Ouais,
actually
bon,
make change in your community,
on
who
va
will
quitter, je crois.
change police brutality, who will make sure that your community is taken care of, who will defund police and hope that they can help you in stopping police brutality. So talk to me about why you
Il a
decided to
12, le
be
mec.
part of More Than a Vote and what it actually
Julia,
means.
t'as pas 12.
Well, it means
Je
a
rigole.
lot to be involved with such an
Non,
impressive
je vois pas de
collective,
quoi tu
as you
parles.
mentioned. And I've said this multiple
Bon,
times,
allez, hop.
and I know it can be uncomfortable when I say it, but a lot of times
On va pas y
we have to
passer
get
la
to the
night.
root of the
Ça sert à rien, wow. Je vais passer la nuit ici. Oh là là. Oh, j'ai le revêtement. Oh, j'ai le revêtement. Oh là là. Oh la chatte. Oh, j'ai le revêtement, c'est bon. Je suis sauvé. J'ai pas attendu pour rien. Ouf. C'est bon. Un petit flash pour le revêtement. Pour vous remercier pour le revêtement quand même. Non, je vois pas de... Ça m'a fait d'écho du mode et c'était terminé. T'es fait avoir, grave. Bon, voilà, je me suis quoi, Fortnite pour rien. J'aime ma vie. Ouais, moi aussi. Hein. Vous m'avez dit, ouais, va voir le concert, vite, va voir le concert, il y a le revêtement. Vas-y, vas-y. Quitte GTA, quitte GTA. T'inquiète, t'inquiète, quitte GTA. Hop, quitte GTA. Ça parle, ça parle, ça parle, ça parle. Moi aussi, j'aime ma vie. Il y a quoi dans la boutique? Elle est arrivée la nouvelle boutique là-bas? La banane de compétition. C'est une banane de compète, frérot. Le chapeau de paille, frère. Oh, il a le chapeau de Luffy et tout. Oh ouais, il a le chapeau de Luffy, le chapeau de paille à Luffy. Oh my god. La banane avec le chapeau de Ace. C'est le chapeau de paille. Chapeau de paille, Luffy. On va descendre sur GTA. Ouais, je crois que c'est ce que je vais faire. 10, 8. Comment ça, 18? Comment ça, 18? Bon, ils ont rien mis de nouveau. Putain. Ah. Ouais. Ah, s'ils la remettent, il y a une danse là, je voudrais bien qu'ils la remettent, je l'achète direct, je pense. Il y a une danse qui est sortie il y a pas longtemps, elle était pas mal, j'aurais dû l'acheter direct. Maintenant, je la vois même plus dans la boutique. J'aurais dû l'acheter direct la danse. Je sais même plus comment elle s'appelle en plus la danse. Ah bah oui, il reste encore 8 minutes pour la boutique, j'avais pas vu. C'est pour ça qu'elle a pas changé la boutique en fait, je suis trop con. Attends la boutique. Minute. Moi je pouvais pas me coucher à 23h. Je serais morte. Tu m'étonnes. Il y a un truc dans 9 minutes. Pour combien il y a le skin Galaxy, tu l'achètes? Bon, je sais pas. Je sais pas trop. 20 balles le skin. Je suis pas milliardaire, gros. Je serais milliardaire, je l'achète direct. T'as quoi comme danse? Ouais, toutes les danses du pass de combat, quoi. Depuis le début du jeu, quoi. Et après, je sais même pas, je peux dire en acheter beaucoup des danses. YouTube, t'as juste un café. Même pas un café. Même pas un café, frérot. Moi, il n'y a que sur Twitch. Sur Twitch, il y a 2 personnes qui m'ont fait un don. En tout, j'ai eu 100 € de don sur Twitch, tu vois. Mais YouTube, non, jamais rien. YouTube, c'est reste. Que sur Twitch. L'esprit mélo. Ouais, c'est la dernière saison, ça. Saison 3. Saison 8. Saison 8. Saison 10. Saison 5. Saison 8. Saison 5. Saison 7. Saison 4. Saison 8. Saison 5. Putain, mais j'en ai combien des danses en fait? J'en ai autant que ça des danses. Saison 3. Saison 4. C'est Christine. 24. Saison 2. Putain, il y a beaucoup de danses là. Saison 2. Saison 2. Saison 3. Saison 3, c'est le dog. Mon frère, YouTube, t'as juste un café. Mon frère, il a freestyle. Je sais même plus si je l'ai freestyle. J'ai plus de thunes. J'ai plus de thunes, Paypal, désolé. Désolé, Paypal. Toi, t'inquiète. J'aime trop la danse avec le cheval. Donc puis c'est laquelle. Ah ouais, la danse. Comment s'appelle cette danse avec le mec qui la chante, là, le chinois, là. Comment il s'appelle le chinois, là, qui chante ça? Même puis... Oui, moi j'aime bien. I'm cat. I am cat. T'aimes bien I am cat? I am cat, tu l'aimes bien? J'ai rigolé aussi. N'empêche, tu ressens dans certaines danses que Fortnite n'avait pas d'inspiration grave. Bizarre la danse impatiente. Attends, j'ai combien de danses? Attends, je suis au palais noir là. Ah, après c'est pas des danses. Après c'est que des emotes. Oh, tout ce qui est en emote aussi là. La danse du Bambi, frérot. Saison 1, la danse du Bambi, mon copain. Ah oui. Tout le monde là, cette danse, je crois, non? La danse saison 1, tout le monde là, tu crois, non? Ça se trouve, c'est une danse hyper rare, mon frère. C'est une danse saison 1, mon gars. C'est la danse la plus rare, frère. Vous l'avez, cette danse aussi, ou non? La danse comme ça, vous l'avez, non? La danse du Bambi. Non, je l'ai pas. Ah ouais, donc c'est vraiment une danse rare, alors ça se trouve. C'est la danse la plus rare du jeu, en fait, alors. C'est la danse saison 1. Quand j'étais en saison 1, je l'avais. Je l'ai eu pendant la saison 1, tu vois. C'est la danse la plus rare du jeu, alors. Ouais, tout le monde là, c'est ce que je me disais. C'est la danse du Bambi. C'est bizarre qu'ils marquent saison 1 quand même. Je sais pas pourquoi ils ont marqué saison 1. Si tout le monde là, ça sert à rien. Chapitre 2. Ils auraient même pas dû marquer saison 1. Salut. Bon, je passe juste les dents vite fait. R2 3 fois boutique. Ah, la boutique. Ouais. Ah, attends, vraiment vite fait. On va passer ça aussi. Ouais, non, on va aller direct dans la boutique. Non, reste trop, je crois, dedans. Scanner, four. Ouais, non, ah voilà, ça y est, la nouvelle boutique. Bon, le pack il y a encore. Agenda rouge. Somme de l'heure. Boisson soif. Numérique. Gros dodo. Rapace. Vélocité. On a fait le tour. Oh, ils n'ont pas mis la danse, je crois. Non, c'est quoi cette danse? Ouais, c'est là, les hanches, Cacarnate. La meuf au pyjama. On a tout ce qu'il y a. Rien d'extraordinaire. C'est quoi ça? Waouh. Magnifique. Gros dodo. Gros dodo, ouais, il est un peu bizarre, je trouve. Oh, c'est mignon. Bonne nuit les petits. Bonne nuit Pamprenelle. Bonne nuit Nicolas. 200 V-Bucks dans le vent si tu l'achètes. 1500 V-Bucks si tu l'achètes. 1500 V-Bucks, ça fait mal au cul. Ça me ferait chier de l'acheter. 200 V-Bucks si tu l'achètes. Bonne nuit Baptiste. Qui est Baptiste? Ah, tu vois, depuis tout à l'heure, là. Depuis tout à l'heure, si on serait encore sur le même live, eh ben, les 1K, on les aurait largement fait, tu vois. On les aurait fait largement, les 1K, tu vois. Les 1K de messages. Bonne nuit, Lucas. Ah bah là, gros dodo. Gros dodo. C'est un Pokémon. Gros dodo. C'est un nouveau Pokémon. Oh, le skin. Skin de Fly. Oh, qui va être le 200e message? Qui va être le 200e message? Demain, depuis 17h30, t'as fait 4 lives. Ouais, tu m'étonnes. Déjà, sur GTA commence à bugger. Alors là, ouais. C'est tombé. Et ils vont plus la remettre le danse. Il y avait une danse, j'avais kiffé. Une danse qui a dû sortir il y a une semaine, 2 semaines. Et je sais plus comment elle s'appelle la danse. Au début, je la kiffais, je dis ah, je l'achète pas, tu vois. Et maintenant, dès que j'entends qu'ils la mettent dans le machin, je suis dégoûté, tu vois. Dès que je l'entends, des mecs qui la mettent avant de commencer ou quoi, je dis ah non, les bâtards, j'aurais dû l'acheter. Si la prochaine fois elle sort, je l'achète direct. Tu vois. Je sais plus comment elle s'appelle cette musique. Bon, c'est pas la musique à... Comment ça s'appelle? C'est moi, c'est pas moi. Laquelle achète pété derrière? MDR, bien sûr, je vais l'acheter. Je suis pas un pigeon à ce point-là, frérot. Ouais, je suis pressé du crabe. C'est pas la danse de TikTok. La danse TikTok, non. Je sais pas, peut-être. Du coup, je me rappelle pas du nom. Mais je crois que c'est la musique d'un... Comment il s'appelle, putain, je sais plus. Elle ressemble à la musique d'un chanteur américain, mais je sais plus comment c'est. Renegade, non. Renegade, c'est un skin, c'est pas une danse. Ouais, aussi slide, ouais, ça doit être ça, c'est ça, Julia, je crois. Ouais. Je crois que c'est celle-là, il me semble. Ouais, aussi slide, ouais, ça doit être celle-là, je crois. Ouais, voilà, ouais, c'est ça. Aussi slide de Drake. Ouais, c'est celle-là, je crois. Genre, j'hésitais à l'acheter. Ouais, il me semble que c'est elle, je suis pas sûr, mais... Pas sûr à 100%, mais je crois que c'est elle. Une danse aussi renégate. Elle repassera pas, je pense. Tu m'étonnes. Tout le monde va gueuler sinon. Déjà quand ils ont sorti la renégate, quand ils ont ressorti quoi comme skin, ouais, tous les skins rares, tu vois. Le squelette là. Là comment les gens ils ont gueulé quoi. Le skin rapace en or est stylé. 2000 V-Bucks frérot. 2000 V-Bucks ça fait mal quand même. Moi je trouve que ça fait mal de V-Bucks. Avec un expert, je l'ai acheté. Tu m'étonnes. Attends, c'est laquelle? C'est laquelle que j'ai acheté? Ouais, c'est la renégate. Moi, c'est l'autre renégate que j'ai acheté. Ouais. La renégate, je crois que ça s'appelle la renégate aussi, je crois, non? Ah non, ça s'appelle fournaise. Je crois que c'est le même style que la renégate, elle, non? Je dis une connerie. C'est le même style. La version femme est pas demi, elle est pas belle. 2000, ouais, ça fait mal. Ouais, c'est pas beaucoup. 2000 V-Bucks, c'est 20 € quoi, on va dire. À peu près 20 € quoi. Renégate en feu, ouais. Ta chevalier noir, non malheureusement non. J'ai vu le pass de combat trop tard. Du coup ça m'a arrêté. Ma pioche préférée du jeu, je l'ai même pas eu pour dire. La pioche a été niveau... Le pass de combat, j'ai dû le commencer 3 semaines après que 3 semaines après qu'il soit sorti. Du coup j'ai pas eu le temps de le finir. Et je sais pas si tu te rappelles, c'est à l'époque, fallait que tu t'attendes un défi par jour. Comment te dire, attends, fallait que t'attendes un défi par jour pour avoir une 5 étoiles, tu vois. Et il te fallait 10 étoiles pour monter un niveau. Pour t'expliquer la misère de l'époque. Et du coup, je me suis arrêté, bah du coup, j'ai que les 3 premiers skins du skin, le premier pass de combat, quoi. J'ai que celui-là et celui-là, du coup, j'ai que ces 3-là. J'étais dégoûté. Et puis à cette époque-là, on n'aurait jamais pensé que le jeu il percerait autant, tu vois. Personne n'aurait pensé que ce jeu-là il aurait percé autant, tu vois. Et moi, quand je suis arrivé en retard, j'étais dégoûté, tu vois. Et il me manquait un seul palier pour avoir ma pioche, ça m'a mis encore plus les nerfs. La mise à jour elle devait être à 10h. À 8h, du coup ils l'ont fait à 8h du matin, j'ai pas pu avoir ma pioche. J'aurais j'aurais acheté le palier, tu vois, mais à l'époque j'étais con, je savais pas, tu vois. Je peux pas trop penser, tu vois. Et du coup je me suis fait niquer. J'étais dégoûté. Pas eu la pioche, pas eu de chevalier noir. Les nerfs. Fallait faire le pigeon. Acheter un palier. Ouais, c'est ce que je viens de dire. J'aurais su, ouais. À l'époque, j'ai même pas pensé à ça, tu vois. Il me restait, normalement, si la mise à jour elle aurait été à 10h, j'aurais eu le temps de finir et j'aurais eu ma pioche, tu vois, mais vu qu'ils l'ont fait à 8h du matin, je me suis fait niquer, tu vois. J'étais dégoûté. En plus, cette pioche-là, je trouve que c'est la plus belle pioche du jeu, tu vois. Pour moi, c'est la pioche avec les filaments en fer, là. C'est vraiment la pioche la plus belle, tu vois. Après, chacun ses goûts, tu vois, mais cette pioche-là, en plus, je trouve qu'elle est vraiment bien. Là, en 2 semaines, 3, déjà level 100. Grave. C'est plus la même histoire maintenant. Maintenant, tu montes hyper rapide. Je chevalier, mon skin préféré, mais j'étais pas là. Ouais, tu m'étonnes. Ah, moi aussi, quand j'ai raté, je l'ai acheté direct, mais j'ai pas eu le temps de rattraper mon retard, tu vois. J'étais dégoûté. C'est quoi le nom de la pioche? Waouh, c'est une pioche avec les filaments en fer, là, c'est une pioche électrique. Une pioche électrique avec les filaments. Mon plus grand frère là, mais j'y connais rien. Moi, 109 là. Ah, t'es 109, moi je suis 110, je crois. Il me fait peur. Attends, j'ai essayé de chercher le nom de la pioche. Pioche. Saison 1, 2. Fortnite. Ah, elle est là. Est-ce que je vais réussir à avoir son nom? Oh, comment elle déboîte cette pioche. Oh, mon dieu, c'est de la frappe. Je suis dégoûté de pas l'avoir. Oh, je l'ai trouvé en photo, mais je sais pas comment elle s'appelle. Putain, y a pas le nom. Les cosmétiques rares Fortnite. Les plein de pareil. La fulgurante, je crois. Je crois que ça s'appelle la fulgurante. Pioche fulgurante, je crois. Si je dis pas de conneries. Ouais, pioche fulgurante. Ouais. Ah, cette pioche déboîte. Vraiment. C'est la meilleure pioche du jeu. Je l'ai raté d'un palier pour te dire les nerfs que j'ai tué. Ouais. Je viens de la revoir, là, ça faisait longtemps que je l'avais pas vue. Mais ouais, c'est vraiment pour moi la meilleure pioche du jeu, je crois. Elle déboîte carrément. On va dire que je t'ai raté d'un palier, je suis dégoûté. Oh, putain, je jouerai tout le temps avec cette pioche-là, je pense. J'alternerai la faux et cette pioche-là tellement que je trouve elle déboîte. Ouais, dégoûté. Moi, j'arrête de la regarder, elle me dégoûte. J'arrête de la regarder, j'aime, elle me met les nerfs. Et dis-toi en plus à cette époque-là, tu sais, je l'aurais écrit en plus à Fortnite, tu vois. Je l'aurais écrit pour essayer de l'avoir la pioche. Je leur ai dit ouais, j'ai payé mon pass de combat, j'étais au niveau 60. Après votre mise à jour, j'ai pas eu ma pioche et tout. Je leur ai écrit, ils m'ont jamais répondu. J'étais dégoûté. Je leur ai envoyé un mail, machin, ils m'ont jamais répondu. Je me suis dit ça doit peut-être passer, mais c'est pas passé. Non. 3 pioches pour lui, Maxence et Timéo, je crois. C'est là, Minty. Bof pour moi. C'est une baguette étoilée, ma préférée. Et je l'ai. 800 des decks. Ah, ça va. Ouais, moi je trouve que la pioche fulgurante, elle est au-dessus, frère. C'est là une des pioches les plus rares du jeu d'ailleurs. Dire que je vais rater d'un palier. J'arrête d'en parler dessus. On me fout les nerfs cette pioche. 800 €, c'est 7 € je crois. Ouais, un truc comme ça. Okay. Une baguette étoilée. C'est quoi ça? Marvin 139. Mon compte vaut 10,5 €. Au calme. Il vaut cher. Il est déjà 2h16. Ça passe vite. Je fais quoi? J'essaie d'aller faire le braquage vite fait sur GTA. Je me dis que Erwan, lui, il a un tel à 1000 €. Il a eu un skin, je crois. C'est iconique. Ah, ça va, tranquille. Ça va, j'ai acheté un pass. Ah ouais, ça va. T'es pas un pigeon. Fais comme tu veux. Ah, je sais pas, n'importe. Quitte à attendre. Autant retourner essayer de faire le braquage. On va peut-être y arriver à force. Si ça bug pas. Si ça bug pas, ce sera magnifique. Là, j'ai commencé saison 9. Ouais, bah ouais, normal. C'est normal alors. J'ai acheté le produit de la saison 3 chapitre 17. Ah ouais, ok. Ah, c'est pour ça. C'est normal là. Ouais, saison 2, chapitre. Ah, ça va. On commence juste. Moi je jouais à la saison 1, au début il n'y avait même pas de passe de combat. Il y avait 3 villes qui se battaient en duel. 3 maisons, c'était même pas des villes, c'était des maisons. Il n'y avait pas de ville à cette époque je crois. Il y avait 2-3 baraques qui se battaient dans le désert. Il y avait 3 armes. Personne construisait. Les constructions ça n'existait pas à cette époque. Moi je construisais juste un escalier, ça suffisait. Maintenant, ça construit des buildings, frérot. Je jouais à PUBG. Ouais, j'ai fait quelques games dessus. J'ai pas trop accroché. Au chapitre 1 de Fortnite. Ah ok. Ah, j'ai pas trop accroché. Il y a un nouveau jeu qui est sorti, il m'a l'air pas mal aussi. Comment il s'appelle ce jeu là? Attends, je regarde vite fait dans le Play Store, je vais vous dire le nom du jeu. Apparemment ce jeu là il va être gratuit bientôt. Ah, Rock Company. Vous connaissez ce jeu ou pas? Vous connaissez ce jeu, non? Il a l'air pas mal le jeu là aussi. Il va bientôt être gratuit apparemment. Moi j'ai mis 25 € dans le PUBG. Rendez-moi mon argent. Tu m'étonnes. Moi je regardais encore la télé. Il est plus là Marvin. Marvin est-tu là? Ouais, Marvin il s'est endormi je crois. Il est parti. Non. Marvin. Il est sur le live. Marvin s'est endormi je crois. Marvin dort. Je crois aussi. Ouais, là, je pense que tu t'es couché plus tard que lui, là. Tu pourras le chambrer demain, là. Tu lui dis demain, tu lui diras, t'as pas honte qu'une fille de 12 ans elle se couche plus tard que toi? C'est une honte. Pour une fois, je dors pas la première. Ouais. Demain, dès que tu le vois, tu lui diras. Tu lui diras, alors t'as pas honte qu'une jeune de 12 ans elle se couche plus tard que toi? Ah, ça va le calmer. Ouais. Je dors toujours le dernier. Oh là. C'est moi qui dors le dernier, je pense. Je me couche à 8, 9 heures du matin en ce moment. Je sais pas si tu te couches à cette heure-là, mais... Je pense que t'es déjà au lit depuis longtemps. À cette heure-là. Ouais, en ce moment, je me couche tard. Et je me lève tard, du coup. Ça va pas sans dire, quoi. Je me lève à 16h, par contre. 15h30, 16h, quoi. C'est ça le problème, quoi. Ça finit toute la journée, quoi. C'est ça de vivre la nuit. Il y en a qui vivent la journée, il y en a qui vivent la nuit, tu vois. C'est ça la vie, tu vois. Moi, depuis tout gamin, je me couche pas avant je sais pas quelle heure, tu vois. J'ai jamais réussi à me coucher tôt, tu vois. Du coup, en grandissant, bah, c'est toujours pareil. Tiens, mon frère m'a même pas fait chier aujourd'hui, c'est cool. Ouais, tu m'étonnes. Pour une fois que je peux être tranquille, ouais, faut profiter. Pourvu que ça dure. Bon. Je vais me coucher. Demain, je me lève à 11h. À demain, Julia. Et sans doute. Ouais, bonne soirée, bonne nuit à toi, Axel. À demain, gros. Tchuss. Yes, c'est pas moi, l'avant-dernier. Eh non. Les jeux l'an dernier. Faudra pas oublier Marvin demain. Marvin il s'est endormi. Bye, tous Axel. Bonne soirée, bonne nuit. À demain tout le monde, bisous. Ouais, bisous. Un gars de 15 ans qui dort avant, une fille de 12 ans. LDR. Et plus de batterie. Donc alors 2h30. Je fais quoi? Moi j'ai vite fait sur GTA ou pas? Ouais, ça on est 4, je suis la seule à parler. Ouais. Ah bah ça... Il y en a, ils viennent juste voir. Ils parlent pas. Comme tu veux. Ouais, je pense que je vais essayer d'aller faire le braquage vite fait sur GTA. Comme ça on n'en parle plus. Ouais, vas-y, je relance un live. Je relance un live sur GTA. Dans 2 minutes. Les gars, soyez pas timides, on va pas vous manger. J'aime bien. Ça se trouve, il y a encore... Il y a encore Axel, ça se trouve. Et Marvin, il s'est endormi. Axel, il va quitter. MDR, il y a encore Axel, je m'en doutais. Il est là en soum soum. Il est là en fufu. En mode fufu. Endormi devant le téléphone ou la tablette. Grave. Bon allez, je relance un live sur GTA dans 2 minutes. Hop là. Allez à toutes. Merci d'être passé aux autres.